Hi, my name is Cindy Rang with the Fabric Patch in Ephrata, Washington, and today I'm going to show you how to make a really fast cuddle quilt. These are super fast, really easy and quick to do. It's just that there's a couple little tricks that you need to know about. My daughter and I have owned and operated a busy quilt shop in Washington State for over 20 years. We have a retreat center, an active YouTube channel, and a large pattern line featuring our creations. My two sons work on machines. One daughter-in-law is our videographer and the other is a long-arm quilter. We are a family that love each other, we laugh together, and every once in a while we get some work done. We have a crew that are saints for their efforts at keeping us on track. Thanks for joining us on our wild ride. So first I just want to take a second to talk to you about what cuddle or Minkie is. And it is a 100% polyester fabric that is crazy soft, super soft, and super washable. You can wash it, dry it every single day for 20 years. It's still going to look exactly the same. We have some quilts that are 20 years old. They still look exactly the same. It is not the same thing as department store stuff that you think you've seen that you think is the same way, because it's not. It doesn't pill up. Again, washes beautifully. It comes in a lot of different ways. It comes on a bolt. It's 60 inches wide. Ranges in price from about $11.99 up to maybe $23.99, depending upon the depth and weight of what you order. It also comes 90 inches wide if you want to put it on a backing. But what's really nice is it comes pre-cut. So there are different kits that are put together that have everything in there that you need. We have some baby kits, we have some large quilts, we have some toddler quilts, but the best thing is we actually even have some pre-cut strips, and that's really what we're going to spend our time talking about today, are these strip sets. They're called sweet strips, and what they are is they're 10 inches wide, and of course they're 60 inches long. So really, if you were going to just sew all of this together, you would end up with something that's approximately 50 by 60. I'm going to show you how to do a quilt as you go so that by the time you're done sewing everything together, it's also been quilted. So it's a really easy technique, but there is a little special thing that I need to show you as we go. The other thing that I just want to mention before we clear off this table and get started is that we also have 2-yard cuts. This is really nice because if you just don't want to mess with it, you just want a piece of Minkie that's going to be 60 inches by 72 inches. It comes in a wide variety of colors and textures. And by textures, there's some that it's called fox, or hide, and it really does look and feel like an animal fur. All fully vegan, of course, but really nice. And so all you'd really need to make this entire quilt, including binding, is just one of these 2-yard chunks and a strip set of your choice. If you do that, you have enough left over that you can bring that over and make it your binding, or you could even add an extra strip if you'd like to do that. If what you really want to do is just make it kind of toddler size, then all you really need is 1.5 yards of your favorite Minkie, which is going to give you a 54 by 60 inch piece. So the only other thing you're going to need to do this is a box of long pins, a sewing machine, and some fabric solvay, or sticky solvay, and I'm going to show you this in just a second. I'm going to clear a few of these things off, and then I'm going to show you how this stuff works. These are not all of the color options that we currently have, but just to show you a few of them. This one is called Silver Jubilee. This one is called All Stars, and again you can see how there's just different textures involved as well as colors. This one is called Night. This beautiful teal, and then there's a real pale blue in here. This is called Lagoon. This one has not only multiple textures and colors, but also some really nice printed, and this one is of course called Unicorn. This one up here is called Peony, and you can kind of see that beautiful printed piece. This is also available in on the bolt, that beautiful color, and again you can see the luxe texture of the pieces. This one is called Desert. This one is Ocean. This one is Chambray. And this one is Eggplant. So for our quilt that we're going to make, this is just a very simple quilt as you go. So again, all I've really needed is I just need my sweet strip set of the one that I chose, which is Unicorn. So I've got my 5 little rolls here. They all have these tiny little rubber bands on them. You just take off. It's not really rubber band. And then again, when you open this up, what you've got is something that's 10 inches wide by 60 inches long. Every once in a while, you'll get a little bit of nap that'll come off, and we like to just call that Minkie guts. It's nothing. It's just the nap. Because what's really, really nice about Minkie and Cuddle is that it doesn't have a fraying edge. It's not woven, so wherever you've cut it, it's just going to, it'll just stay that way. You don't have to hem it, you don't have to do a double fold, you don't have to do anything like that, which is why when we do binding out of Minkie, all we do is we just fold it over and we sew it down. We don't have to, again, do a double fold because there's no raw edge on Minkie or on Cuddle. So anyway, we're going to open all of these up. So we need this, and then we need our backing, and I picked this really cool. It's sparkly, and it seems like if you look at it, you would think that it's scratchy, but if I had my eyes closed, I would not know that there was silver on this. This feels just as soft as everything else does. You don't know that there's something else on there, and it doesn't come off in the wash. We have a couple things that we've made out of this, and it washes up beautifully and looks exactly like this every time. The other thing that's possible is to get a couple of extra strips, because of course if you've got 5 strips that are 10 inches, your maximum amount is going to be about, roughly 47 inches with your seam allowance. If you really want something that's going to be 50 or 60 inches by your 60-inch length, we could just add a couple of strips for you. So that is something. We don't have these individually on the website, so if you're shopping with us remotely, you'll probably want to call us. We can do some personal shopping. We can just show you virtually what we have and put something together if you want your quilt to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to set these aside for now, because for mine, I'm just going to do the 50 by 60. So again, so here is my backing, and again it comes off of the roll this way. Here's my selvage, which is, it's 60 inches from selvage to selvage, and I have a 54-inch length right here. The other thing that I want to show you about Minkie is that along your selvage, it doesn't stretch at all. It's a nice weft edge. Your warp edge over here, though, you can see on the cut side is very, very stretchy. This is what bothers people about Minkie, is they think, oh my gosh, it stretches all over the place, and they get a little bit woozy with it. But you don't have to worry about it. The truth is, if you pin, you're going to be just fine. You won't have any issues at all. But if you're doing something a little bit crazier, or you really don't want to pin, or you just don't want any trouble at all, something that you can use is this. It's called Sticky Fabrisolve, and what it is it's a product that's sticky and it dissolves after you've used it. So what happens is, this is just a 1-yard package. It's about $7. I've cut mine into strips, and I don't measure the strips, so it might be a 1/2 inch, might be a 1/4 inch. And after you peel off the backing, this is what you have, is this little sticky interfacing. And so all you have to do is take this sticky interfacing and you put it down on the stretchy side of your Minkie, like this, and again, it'll just stick. And I might stop at only 40 inches or whatever I've cut off. I'll cut off another strip and keep going, another strip and keep going, and then what happens, and it'll stay there while I'm sewing. And you can see now, I don't know if you can hear that or not, there's no stretch at all. And so there's no stretch. So if I'm doing something different where I'm maybe adding strips together because I want to sew my strips together first, and if you find that things are just really twisting and turning a little bit, this is something that'll take all of that out of that for you. You don't have to do anything. Once this is there and you've sewn it, you don't have to do anything different. The first time that this quilt is washed, all of that will dissolve instantly. You can't feel that it's there, so if you leave it and the quilt isn't washed for a month after you've started using it, it's absolutely not going to matter. Nothing bad will happen. It's also the product that if you've watched any of our hand stitching videos, this is what we've used. We'll put this through the printer and we will print a hand embroidery pattern on it, do our hand embroidery through it, and then it just rinses away under just tepid water, so that you don't have to do any tracing. So anyway, also on our website, fabricpatch.net, and that's available in 1 yard pieces, or we do have it on a bolt if you want larger amounts. I'm going to get this out of the way because I'm not actually going to use this for my quilt because I've sewn enough with Minkie that I feel fairly comfortable without using it. I think that when I do use this, I recommend it for beginners or somebody who's piecing Minkie together in a quilt, but when we're just layering it to do a quilt along or a sew as you go, it's really not necessary at all. But pins are, so if you're not going to use that, you really do need to pin. So what you'll end up doing is we're going to lay this out. If you decide to do this on a long arm, you can do the same thing. You just want to know that when you pin Minkie onto your long arm, the selvage has to go on the sides, and you're going to pin on that cut edge. The reason for that is because from selvage to selvage this way, it will stretch a lot. So if you've got the selvage pinned on, when you roll your whole quilt together, you could be stretching it far more than you want to. So if you pin it on this way, it's not going to stretch at all, and it'll stay nice. So all you're going to do is you're going to take your piece, and you might have to kind of decide what you want in what order, what color is going to be first, what color is going to be second. And again, this is just those little Minkie guts that we talked about. So you're going to lay this out, and some people will use 505, which is a spray adhesive. And you can do that if you'd like to. I think that that's fine. I tend to not use it very much, but I think it works really, really well if you want to spray something down, and that'll kind of hold it in place. But what I do is I start with my first piece, and then let's say we're going to do this teal piece next. What I would do is lay this out so that I've got my right sides together. And again, my strips are 60 inches wide, and my running yardage is 60 inches wide. So I'm going to put this together. I'm going to come down a little bit. And again, this is where if you kind of feel like you have enough extra Minkie that you want to make this your binding, you would want to make sure that you have enough left over all the way around. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add a separate binding. So I'm just going to lay that all the way up at the top. And then you do have to pin it. And you want to make sure that you have a pin that is long enough to be able to go through your Minkie and your backing. So we'll just go all the way down. We'll pin this down, and then what's going to happen is we're going to sew through all 3 layers. So we're going to go to our sewing machine, sew all the way down through all 3 layers. Once we've done that, we're going to open this, take out the pins, open this up, and then of course what's happened is where we've stitched here, you'll be able to see that quilting line here. So let me show you here where we've added these. You can see on the back, you can see that that line, it looks like it's quilted, of course, because we've gone through all of the rows, but it's because that's where we've sewn that seam together. So after you've opened this up, you're going to do the next one. Do the same thing. Take off your little rubber bandy things. Lay out right sides together. Put your pins in it. Sew. Open it up. And once you've sewn, again, what you have is you've gone through all 3 layers. So you've quilted it, sewn it together, all at the same time. If you're doing this on a long arm, if you want to go back and quilt something in there, you could, but it's not necessary. It's also not necessary to do it on a long arm. You could easily just sew right through on your sewing machine without any trouble at all. Your other option is you can cut these. This is a 10-inch strip. If you feel like you want to cut these into some 2.5-inch strips or some 5-inch strips, you can easily cut them if you just want to add a little more interest in your quilt. The other thing is you can go either direction, and that won't matter. So you just keep going. As you're doing that, you're just going to do your next one, and you're just going to flip and sew, flip and sew, flip and sew. You do have to pin, unpin as you sew, right sides together, pin those, sew down, open the whole thing up. And then once you're done, you just trim everything all the way around and then put your binding on just like you normally do, and you're totally finished. One thing just to reiterate again is that there's no raw edge on Minkie. So all you really need for binding is probably just a 1-inch piece. Fold it over a single fold and sew it down, and you're good to go, because again, no raw edge on Minkie. So super, super fast, really, really easy to do. If there's something that I've left out and you have any questions, just go ahead and email us at info@fabricpatch.net. If you want us to help you with any personal shopping, email us at the same place or give us a call at the shop. We're more than happy to help you pick out exactly the right colors for whoever you're making your project for. Thank you for watching our video. We invite you to leave a comment, hit the like button, or better yet, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. You can also visit our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest pages, or find all of those things and our online store at fabricpatch.net.